Hello and welcome to episode 68 of UncommonCents. Dean Holmes and Craig Kouimanis here again after a lovely summer holiday of almost 3 months, Craig. So we're taking a European attitude to UncommonCents and making sure that we have a great break to bring us back to be focused for 2025. Couple of big things for us. This is, as I said, number 68. And just off camera moments ago, Craig and I agreed that we would get to 100 before Christmas. So that's going to require a few more episodes coming through to you, listeners. So if you do have any ideas, questions, or you would like to be a guest on UncommonCents, please reach out to Craig or I, and we'd love to have you along. But Craig, welcome. Hopefully you had a good break.
I did.
In the theme of breaks, and therefore it being March, is jump in and tell us about what happened and how we can translate that into business.
Lovely. Thank you, Dean, and good afternoon to everybody out there. It's actually great to be back. I feel like I had a bit of a hiatus at the end of last year, and, I've missed that countdown timer and the anxiety that it brings as we're about to go live and wonder what's going to come out today. But it's great to be back. And I think we should also point out, Dean, that you and I have actually been working probably since mid-January. We just haven't done an UncommonCents episode, just so people don't think we've
absolutely. They summer holidays doesn't exist in that context, only for our podcast stars such as ourselves. Which reminds me of Hamish and Andy. They also have the government mandated shutdown for those that listen to that particular podcast. So we'll probably follow the same theme. We have the same potential listener base, so there's a lot of similarities, and I'll leave it up to the listener to work out whether I'm Hamish or Andy.
Man, hang on, mate. And maybe once we get to 100, then our next goal together is we open a pub in another city.
Absolutely. We'll just do it like little mini versions in the same way. So we might open a pop-up pub for a weekend or something. But let's jump in, Craig. What's the break brought to you?
Mate, it's been a really lovely break, actually. It was sort of like 4 weeks at home, doing nothing. And one of the things that I know, Dean, through your coaching is you often talk about personal wins and business wins. And I think over the break I had a personal win, but the things that happened with it could probably be applied to business. So I thought it might be a great place to start today. And the personal win was that, and everyone's going to go, geez, Craig, you have a really great Christmas holiday. But we did the full tidy up of the house. And when I say that, it didn't mean we were living in a mess for 11 months and then decided to clean it up. It was all those little things. It was all the baggage. It was the garage that had too many boxes that were unorganized. It was things not quite in the place they should be. And just working through all of that. And it sparked from an Instagram video where I saw a lady say, don't put it down, put it away.
That's a good one.
If you put it down, then it means everyone else who walks past something in the wrong spot will put other things in the wrong spot. And then the vicious cycle starts. So we had this whole joke for the whole of the other half of January as we were adapting to our new habit. Don't put it down, put it away. So everything's now got its spot, Dean. The boxes in the garage have got QR codes, which tells us what's in the box because it's a photo on an app on the phone that says this is what's in that box, in that row, on that number. Everything's got its
good.
Yeah. The Ryobi One Plus. Ryobi, if you're listening, I'm happy to take any One Plus tools. They're up on the wall on the Ryobi rack system. No cash for comments on this program, but everything's got its place. And what it did, funnily enough, other than everything feeling clean, it's amazing the weight all of that lifted off our shoulders. And I don't think what I didn't realize through the year is the baggage I was carrying because stuff was in the wrong spot.
Yep.
And therefore, what was that doing to me mentally? What was that doing to, from a thought process and all of that? And so I felt, Dean, by doing all of that investment that we did, by the way, I am now best friends with the guy at the local tip. In Adelaide, we call it a dump, but I know most of our listeners will call it a local tip. He and I are like this because this was a real cleanse. This was, throw it out, don't hang on to it. I also had the wonderful opportunity to give away a heap of furniture to people who needed it, which was really lovely as well. But what we've got now, Dean, is this wonderful clarity of like everything's in its place. So you're not thinking about that. And it feels like I've been freed up completely to think about good things.
Excellent. So very good. So if you go around to the Kouimanis household, obviously there's only one chair that you get to sit on.
That's right, exactly.
And that's it's a bit of that Marie Kondo. Does this thing bring you joy? Would be her statement. We don't have to go to that level of nature, but the idea of minimizing the things that we have in our world only for the advantage of that. Sometimes having things in our world becomes a distraction. And so converting that to business, Craig, and talking about a couple of things that came to mind as you were telling those stories, I like the idea of finishing a file. So this element that going back to when we had paper files in a financial planning business, remember that you would go into the office or the desk and you would see physical files up on your desk. And so the idea that you needed to finish the file was that you needed to do whatever you needed to do in that file so you could take it back to the file room and put it away. And the cleansing nature which you experienced, we previously experienced this in our financial planning businesses, whereby we met with the client, did the file note, put everything back in the physical file and put it on the shelf. And we felt calm once we got all the files off our desk. Okay. Yeah. And so we could do that. And so it is a challenge in the digital world of replicating that feeling of having all of your client files off your digital desk and put away for the next time. But I want you to almost think about how do we create that feeling of closing the file and getting it done. Spoke to an advisor yesterday and he just came back from his tour to meet clients. And he's got 10 file notes to do as a result. And just the example of that, he has 10 files on his desk digitally because he needs to do 10 file notes. And those 10 file notes might need work and documents off the back of it. And it becomes noisy as a result. And so you could not have zero work to do, obviously. But the idea, I think, Craig, of using that cleanup mentality of, when we've got files that are open on our digital desk, it is a distraction and noisy, and we need to get those off. So that was one thing that I got motivated to tell a story about based off of that journey you had. And then the second one was even if we just jump into our email inbox and we say, well, how many emails do I have in my inbox, and can we just clean that out? And what perhaps the same attitude in terms of cleaning this out is actually going through and unsubscribing to things that we don't want to read anymore. If you struggle to unsubscribe because of the industry resubscribes you all the time because they relearn your email address, creating some rules within your email inbox to clear things out so you actually get to a much shorter number of emails. Like, it's overwhelming when you come back from one day and you'll leave and you've got 300 emails in your inbox. Frustratingly, most of those are not client emails. And so therefore it's just noise at the end of the day. And so the second thing that came to mind is cleansing that inbox, Craig, of trying to make, as you've done, permanent changes so that you can't fall back into your old habits. So you won't dump anything in the garage because you've got a QR coded box that knows where to put it. Nor would you put your Ryobi One Touch devices in the wrong spot on the wall because everything has their spot. And so, what's the discipline that you need, Craig, going forward to not fall back into the habits, though?
Yeah, well, mate, it's silly. It's become the game, right? Don't put it down, put it away. Like, it's become funny. So it's almost like humor's come to it to actually call each other out on, a particular behavior where you're not offending the other person, right? So that you got to be careful of that because people operate differently. Like, I'm OCD, Julie isn't. So my OCD is pretty good at the discipline of that. But if you see someone else not quite up there, rather than you need to put that away or you need to do this, it's about communication, which is no different in your business. We found a way to make it a little bit fun of, don't put it down, put it away.
Absolutely.
And so a bit of fun like that. And it's just reminding yourself how good it is when it's cleansed, how easy it is to do every other job that you then have to do that's a normal job. And the type of things that brings. But I think too, Dean, the don't put it down, put it away analogy, if you like now, as you were talking about those things, from an advisor perspective, over my break, I was thinking about that from a business owner perspective, right? And strategically, like when an idea comes up, and, lots of these ideas just get put down. And so they're never, ever put away. And by put away in this sense, I mean either implemented and executed or actually put away that it's not going to work. But lots of these things get put down. And you would see this in your coaching, right? That's your job, is to make people either put it away, either do it or get rid of it. But I see so many firms where they're just putting them down. And then the drag that's creating without people even knowing it. Anything else that they're doing is having a massive, massive impact on them. So I think, the lesson from this today is whether it's a micro task or a macro task, don't put it down, Dean.
Put it away.
Put it away.
Very good. A good lesson and reminder, Craig. So obviously we've prepared for today, and I've got the same story to tell. So I clean my house as well, Craig, but we won't. That's not the win in this context. But the activity that I decided that I would start to do this year in the personal context, but definitely I already do it in the business context, is essentially I always talk to all of my clients about tracking numbers and having metrics in a scorecard. And the metrics are, in business context, leading and lagging indicators that you need to do more of something, potentially less of something, or everything's okay. And so kind of created a version of metrics and KPIs for myself personally in order not to take spontaneity out of life or anything like that, but in order to remember the things that are important that I wanted to focus on. And sometimes by virtue of just getting busy in life, those things become I'll do it later, or I won't do it this month, or I forgot to do it this month kind of thing. And so there is a series of KPIs in my world now where I'm actually trying to be cognizant upon reflection about how I went in certain areas. And so I've created a coffee with myself at the end of on the last Friday of the month or thereabouts, to try to reflect on the activities that I did in the month, to measure as to whether they were what I set out at the start of the month. And so this KPI activity has allowed me to make sure that I'm doing some of the things that I wanted to do. And one of them, like I'll call out some of the examples, but I'm training for my marathon at the moment. So I'm just tracking the number of kilometers that I ran in the month. And so that as a indicator just shows me whether I'm doing the right training, and I want to run, I want to do the training, and it's an interesting number to track in order to see how I'm going. And it'll have the extra advantage over the whole year of making sure I don't drop off and do nothing after that particular exercise, that I've got a goal that I want to do a certain amount of kilometers per month. And that's one of the ones. There's a weight related one as well, to go, what are we weighing in at, just to be aware of that, as well as different social activities as well, in terms of the number of people and activities that I want to do. And so it's a lagging indicator, as I've thought about it, Craig, in terms of same with business, is that my goal is to do a certain number of these things. And so at the end of the month, I'm looking back on the month and going, did I allocate time to do these activities? And so Therefore, at the start of the month, I'm able to go, well, if I want to improve that number, I need to book in these activities well in advance.
Yeah.
Okay. And so absolutely that talks to the same business numbers that we want to track within our business, is that how can we track numbers and activity that is important for us? And then how do we use that to better make decisions going forward? Because if you get the data and do nothing with it, you might as well have not collected the data in the first place. But if you get the data and it's driving decisions and behavior in business, that's where I'm focused on to go. I didn't hit that particular number I didn't hit that particular number. So next month I'm going to target to do it better as a result.
Yep. And the other thing, mate, I want you to implement in this, which I'm sure you've thought about, is, but when you do hit those numbers, to make sure you reward yourself. And even if that's 5 minutes of, you know what, I actually have achieved a hell of a lot in that last month. It's just really important, because I think this has disappeared out of society. Just that short moment to stop and actually congratulate yourself, reward yourself, acknowledge that you've done well for that particular period.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the business wins that you and I often talk about, or personal wins. And I think it's a bit of the, let's call it the tall poppy syndrome of Australian culture a little bit, is that we actually want to celebrate the wins ourselves, but actually it's also okay to tell someone else your wins. And that's something that I want to, encourage, whether it's telling a client, a podcast, or your mate down the road, or or your partner, is to build in the culture of saying, you know what, I'd love to celebrate a win with you.
Yep.
Okay.
Which then leads to, mate, like finding your right people. You need to surround yourself with people who will actually be happy for you, not upset that you achieved something. Because you talk about the tall poppy thing. If you've got the wrong people around you, then they're going to resent you for good wins. You need people who understand you, who understand what you're doing, whether it's personally or professionally, and are willing to celebrate great wins with you.
Yep, absolutely. And it's a
way
of
accountability buddies, Dan.
Well, it's accountability. Yeah, absolutely. It's accountability, but also the person you share your positive news with, it doesn't necessarily have to be reciprocated. You're not looking, you don't have to have someone that's going to go, that's amazing, let me tell you my good news. Because it's not about competing on your business win or your good news. And so the simple being able to go, Craig, I'd love to share with you one of my business wins for last month because I'm proud of it. And you're absolutely right. The sharing it with others builds a bit of momentum, but it's also good for yourself to do that. But generally speaking, lots of high performers don't celebrate their wins themselves very well. And even when it comes to getting if you sign a client, for example, to bring it back to the financial planning idea, is that it's part of our job. So signing a client is part of our job, but we very rarely do a lot to celebrate the fact that we just signed a new client before going on to the next thing in our inbox or the next task in X-Plan. And so it's actually also thinking about within your business, how are you celebrating the wins that you're having such that those wins build momentum. Okay. My very first firm that I worked at, we had a little, Andrew used to call it the pit board. I don't know the history of the words, but it was like Lego going on the wall when you signed a client, and you used to track the revenue per client and things like that as you were building your business. But the point is that it was celebrated. When you signed a client, there was a bit of a cheer and excitement around you going to the board and putting things on the board to show that you've built some momentum. And so however you want to do it, absolutely right, Craig, build that positive feedback through that process.
The old-fashioned ring the bell, mate, when something good, eh?
So that's my monthly coffee with myself, and being aware of the things that I want to track and improve on, and just like I do in business, trying to convert some of these things to a number is a bit of a challenge. You can't measure, you can't always measure it to a number at the start, but you can track some things that end up resulting in you changing behaviors. And so screen time is a really interesting one that just come to mind in terms of if you can collect the data on a monthly basis of how long you spent on certain apps on your phone or certain screen time on your phone. And so if it was a goal that you wanted to change your behavior of being more present or spending time elsewhere, you need to track a number like that on a weekly or monthly basis for it to be front of mind. And front of mind is what changes behaviors over time.
Most definitely, mate. And look, I think there's a couple of things that happened while we're on holidays that, has kicked off this year's Uncommon Sense beautifully. And there's some underlying messages in it for all of us in terms of whether it's personally or professionally, how we set up to tackle 2025.
Absolutely. And if you're doing, as they know, the stats, Craig, of New Year's resolutions, if they've all failed, you've got plenty of opportunity to restart them again at any point in time. Whilst 1 January might feel nice for resolutions, statistically, there's another 364 days where you could start a resolution and it work or fail just as easy. So this is our March reminder as we come back from our summer holidays that any of these goals that you set for yourself and things that you may want to track in your business or in your personal life, you can start them at any time, and we encourage you to start them at any time.
Definitely.
So, Craig, 10 push-ups, and we're off and running for 2025. So that was number 68. We're reiterating our path to 100 with or without sponsorship from our friends at Ryobi. We will continue that journey. Didn't mention, Craig, what part you prefer in that package, but I assume just even a battery is going to get you ahead of the game.
Well, mate, exactly right. I'm happy with new batteries or, lawn equipment or whatever. Actually, the Scarifier might be good if anyone from Ryobi is listening.
Not sure what that is, but if you talk to Craig and mention and want to get into understanding his lawn care regime, we'll have a separate podcast for Craig and his lawn care. If you want to launch that, Craig, you're well on your way, but we do not have time in Uncommon Sense to jump down that one. But thanks very much for listening. If you're on LinkedIn, thanks for watching live or on YouTube or podcast as you're walking around the streets of Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane. Enjoy listening to this particular episode, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.